Hey, welcome back to the Bourbon Shed. My name's Mick. This is the Bourbon Shed, formerly known, of course, as my wife's garden shed. So what do we got going on? That's the question we always ask at the start of the show. What is going on? Well, we're going to start by making an old fashioned. I need something to sip on. It's been a rough week, folks. Been a rough week indeed. Rough month, rough year. 2021 has not improved a whole lot over 2020 for me. Not that I'm complaining. I woke up this morning. The alternative could be a lot worse. So today for the old fashioned, we're going to start with a sugar cube. And we're just going to soak that in bitters. If you don't have cherries, get the Luxardo brand. These things here are very decadent. So we're going to take a bar spoonful of cherry juice. Not the cherry just yet. We will get a cherry later. Right now, we're going to put that in there, right? So now what we're going to do is we're just going to mush this up. Alright, so we're going to make an old fashioned, but we're also going to talk about 10 bourbons to get you started if you haven't started your bourbon journey, your whiskey journey, and you want to get started. I am going to give you 10 that you can go out and get now. And yeah, you'll have a great whiskey collection to get started with. First of all, we're going to start with this one here, Wild Turkey 101. It's known as a bartender's favorite. It's also known as something that people drank too much of in college, so they're thinking, I don't know that I really want to drink any Wild Turkey right now. It's 101 proof, at least the Wild Turkey 101 is. So we're going to put an ounce of that in here. Roughly an ounce, right? Shot glass. I think that's an ounce. Then we are going to load it up with this ice. If you hadn't noticed, I have a glass of ice here. Alright, so the other one I have here is some Angostura orange bitters. So I don't put an orange peel in mine today anyway. I'm just going to put a couple dashes of that in there. Now that was a couple of good dashes. That'll give it some orange flavour. Now we'll give it another little bit of a mix. You know what we need? You know what else we need in here? I'll tell you what we need in here. We need another ounce of bourbon. So we're layering this bourbon, and there's a really good reason for that. I saw this really cool guy on YouTube doing it, and that's how he did it. So that's how I'm doing it. You know what it really needs? Needs some more bourbon. So I introduced you to Wild Turkey 101. That is a staple. It's a very good bourbon. But why don't we mix it up a little bit with our next introduction? You probably ought to try rye at some point too. So if you're going to try rye, get that sucker there. Old Forester. It's 100 proof rye. And it is good. Ask, and you will be told by anybody that's drunk this. Excuse me for that little clash. We'll put a little bit of rye in there. That gives it a little kick, a little bit of a spice. Kicks it up a notch. A bit of extra flavor. So, cocktails. Fantastic. Same as the Wild Turkey 101. Start by getting those. Another one too that I'd substitute in here for that you may want to try is the Old Forester 100 proof bourbon. Another incredibly good drink. Alright, that's enough stirring on that sucker there. We're going to get that in this glass. 1 second. I've got to get my strainer. Ready? Just like that. We're just going to strain that into the glass there. So then we get a Luxardo cherry, and we just go and plump that in there. Now, trust me, these are decadent. I mean, that syrup, that is so good. Here's what we ought to do, is get a barrel of bourbon and finish it in a Luxardo cherry barrel. I bet you they make these in a barrel. If not, we should get them to, and we should get the barrel and then fill it up with bourbon, and that would be your nightcap. Bourbon finished in Luxardo cherry barrels. Yes, don't tell anyone. That's my idea, right? I patented that. That is so darn good. Alright, so cheers, people. We got 2 of our top 10 bourbons out here to start a collection with. Oh, that's magic. You know, I can't tell you how much I needed that, but it's been a rough couple of weeks. So what next? I'm going to give you one that's even cheaper than these. And it is Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. So this one here is your Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. So it's guaranteed to be 4 years old. It's 100 proof. This is fantastic. Again, it won at some point there. It got like a Whiskey of the Year award. It hasn't gone through the roof. They didn't push the price up like they did on everything else. So Evan Williams doing great things, looking after us. Absolutely love it. Right, so those are your base whiskies in any bar. I'd say, you know, you're starting out whiskey, go get those. Now here's the reason. As you're buying more expensive whiskey, you don't want to be buying $60, $100 bottles of whiskey and making cocktails and drinking all of that and replacing that. So these three here, you can just have anytime, couch pours. If you just want to grab a whiskey, put it on the rocks, try it with, don't get mad at me, if you want to drink it with Coke or anything else, these are really guilt-free because of the price point. 750 mils, these are all under 25 bucks, right? Can't go wrong with that. Again, 1.75. I'd buy this here. You can get a 1.75. It's probably 23 or 24 bucks as well. That's a fairly new bottle. I've drunk the last couple I've had. All right, so we've got our base, guilt-free. Make your cocktails. Do whatever you want with this stuff here. Serve it to your guests. So what would I recommend next? Well, I'm thinking probably try something that's fairly foolproof. Big flavor, something like one of these two here, Wild Turkey Rare Breed. You can pick this up anywhere. That's between 40 and 50 bucks, I think, for the most part. Same as this one here. These are under 50 bucks, around 30 to 40 bucks. Four Roses single barrel. So what do you notice about this one? It's empty. That's right, it's empty. So you know I like it. Four Roses, it's a single barrel. That's right. So it's not like the small batch where they mix a lot of different bourbons together from different barrels. This one here, it's out of that particular barrel. You get a lot of different recipes, but this is the off-the-shelf bourbon. All right, so you get through that. What next? Well, you don't have a wheated. So what's a wheated? A wheated bourbon means it's got a lot of wheat mash bill in it. That's rye. Bourbon's mostly corn, over 51% corn. And this one here is wheated. So, you know, Maker's Mark is known as a very, some people might say smooth, but, you know, it's actually got a fair bit of flavor in there. It's also got enough corn in there that it's got the caramel notes. It's got the other notes in there. But I'd grab a Maker's 46. You can grab the standard Maker's, but I'd go up a little bit and just, you know, you've got your base ones in here. If you like the standard Maker's Mark, well, good for you. But try that 46. It's got a good amount of flavor in it. If you're lucky enough to find the car strength, get some of that while you're at it. So what next? Well, get a store pick. So I'm not going to get a lot of arguments from the bourbon world out there. That there, you see them all over the place. You anywhere from, you know, high 40s to 60 bucks. I'd say on average around $50. Every time you see a Knob Creek store pick and you don't have a store pick, grab one, because that gives you a little bit of a story, a little bit of different. That means that there was one barrel that somebody went and chose. They either got samples and they tasted the one they liked best and got that in their store, or they went to the distillery and they tried different barrels and said, this is the one we want. They got that barrel. They sold that whole barrel in their store through their bottling. They put their name on it. So it's always pretty cool to have a store pick single barrel. All right, so what next? All right, so I'm going to give you one that is Friday night, Saturday, and you really want to pull something out that you know you're just going to really enjoy. It's just a full flavor, enough proof on it to really give you a little bit of a bite. I'm going to tell you, you got to have one of these. Old Forester 1920. Now I've got an empty 1910 out there, or I would have had it in there with me, and since I'm only going to 10 bottles anyway, I'd say you can grab that if you want a straight bourbon type drink that's got the caramel, the vanilla, the oak notes in it. But you can get the 1910, and the 1910 has it's got more burnt sugars, more creme brulee, a little bit sweeter. And there's, you know, people will go backwards and forwards and say the 1910 is the best. Other people say the 1920 best. You can't go wrong with any of them. This is 115 proof. It's a fantastic sipper. All right, so go get you some of that. What next? So I'm going to give you one here that you're obviously not out there buying GTS, the Stags. You're not buying Pappy. I mean, people that have been doing bourbon for years and have contacts and relationships, they aren't either. It's hard to get. You might get it on the secondary if you got a lot of cash to throw around. You might get one for $600 if you're lucky, $500 around there. So what am I going to drink then if I can't get hold of one of them, but I want something that's super, super good? you're going to get one of these. Kid you not. This was coined the GTS Killer, the George T. Stagg Killer. You can get these right around 130 proof. So much flavor. Just, I mean, you want to impress. Now that's one there that you want a high proofer. Get that sucker there. You can get it in just about any store. Keep looking around. If you go to 3 or 4 stores, one of them is going to have this one here. So again, it's the attainable. What can you get your hands on? And I'm telling you, it is just so freaking good. So that leaves us one. Let me move these down a little bit, and we'll get one more. We'll put it in the middle. And I'm not. This one here is a real impressive one for me. What these guys have done over here. And it's quite readily available. You might have to hunt for it a little bit more. But this one here, the Rabbit Hole Derringer. You got to have one of these in your collection, and I'll tell you why. It's a finished bourbon. So they've taken their bourbon and they've finished it in sherry PX sherry cask. So the barrels that held the sherry in it, they've still got that sweetness from the sherry. You know, that kind of raisiny, just doughy, you know, cinnamony kind of, not spicy, but the sweet, sugary cinnamon type notes in it. This has got all of those in there, sherry notes in it. So that's another one where you just want a little bit of decadence, a little bit of dessert type bourbon that you can just sit there and maybe you're smoking a cigar, maybe you're just sitting outside on the porch, you're enjoying the evening around the fire. This one will do it. Absolutely. Just, you know, like the Jack Daniel's, a bit higher in proof. This one here is not. It's the, I tell you what, it is 93 proof, right? So this one here, although it'll kick your butt and it's pretty powerful and it's got all the flavors in it, this one here is just so easy to sit back and enjoy, feed up around the fire. So look, that's mine. Oh, look at this guy just snuck in over there. He's got a horse on it, so I've got a horse too. So he's a little friend of mine. But number one, you got your Old Forester Rye. Number two, your Wild Turkey 101. Your Evan Williams Bottled and Bond. Go get those ones there. And as your collection's growing, you've got something, you know, low cost that you can go back to guilt free as you're developing your palate. You're developing your senses when you're nosing the bourbon and picking up the different scents. It's a great way to do that. And you know what, if you want to throw it in your Coke, or you want to throw it in your orange juice, I don't know, whatever you want to drink it with, or you want to make a beautiful old fashioned. So there you have it. There's Mick. Start your collection with these 10 bourbon bottles here and whiskey bottles. So enjoy yourselves out there. You know I am. I'm going to go through and taste all these tonight. I think I'm going to have a cigar and I'm just going to kick back and enjoy the night. You all be safe out there, and let's do this again tomorrow.